Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the HUD, and this is another episode of the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the baseball HUD 2, and hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. We're gonna, again, since people just love me doing these videos and goofing on those fools at the fan, we're going to talk again about the mid-morning show, the coconut and the spaz. We'd focus on the coconut today, and that's Brandon Tierney. This is an actual photo, by the way, of Brandon Tierney. And we're going to talk about them, and really in particular Tierney, because Tierney is a Yankee shill. We know that there's one self-professed and confessed shill that works at the fan, on the fan. That's Keith McPherson. And Brandon Tierney is a shill for his teams. He's a shill for the Yankees. He's a shill for the Jets. Pathetic. But he went after the Mets this week because here's the thing. How many times over the years have the Mets won off seasons and been terrible? They won the off season last year. They were terrible. And they were unhealthy. This team, we have a new general manager / president of baseball operations. He's trying to put a team together the way he wants to put it together. He's not trying to make splashy moves. He's trying to make create and build a pitching staff. I would mention this, and this is very important for people to understand. He has a track record. 5 of the last 6 years, the Milwaukee Brewers, made the postseason, with him as the guy that built that team and brought in those players. Give the man some time. Be patient. This goes for the fans too, and all the people that watch my videos. Be patient with Stearns. Give him some time. Okay? This idea of flipping out after a few months on the job, give him some time. He knows how to build a winning team. And remember, the mantra at WFAN, I've said this many times. The Mets don't do anything. This is what their attitude is. The Mets don't do anything right. And when they do right, it's wrong. An example, Dave Stearns said this week the goal for the season was to make the playoffs this year. Prior to them saying that, the people at the fan were complaining that the Mets were rudderless. They didn't know what they were doing. They had no goals for this year. He comes out and says, we're going to make the playoffs. That's our goal, is to make the postseason. And they said, well, the expectation is too high. He's setting himself up for a fail. What the fuck? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Now, the Mets rotation last year was headed by Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Scherzer pitched terribly when the Mets needed him to pitch well. Every game that the Mets needed him to win, he blew it. And then he got hurt, and then he blew other games. And then he had the problem with the sticky hands and got himself thrown out, made all kinds of excuses for himself. Justin Verlander started the season on the injured list. Took him forever to pitch well, just dragged out, did not pitch well at all. Okay? They didn't have Jose Quintana for the first half of the season. The second half, he pitched really well. He looked pretty good. Tyler McGill pitched terribly. David Peterson was a disaster. And going into the season, all anybody was talking about was how great the Mets pitching staff, and in particular their starting staff, was. Let me read from Odyssey.com. This is how insane and how difficult it is if you're a Mets fan, and in particular the Mets front office, in terms of running this ball club, when you get this kind of brushback. I would mention that the former ownership of this team would listen to the fan and a lot of times would respond. That's known history. They used to respond all the time to what was being done. Mike Piazza being a Met, is in response to ownership wanting him here, because Mike and the Mad Dog were complaining about how there was nobody at Old Shea Stadium. Headline from Odyssey.com. Well, that doesn't happen now. This ownership doesn't do that. Headline, Odyssey.com. Headline, Mets rotation has a chance to be the worst in baseball. On Tuesday, the Coconut Head and Spaz went over the bleak outlook for the Mets bullpen behind Edwin Diaz. On Wednesday, they turned their attention to the starting rotation, which the Coconut believes looks even worse. Well, they went in, hey, Coconut Head, Mr. Nut, we'll say, Mr. Coconut Nut, Coco, I'll call you Coco. They were going into the season last year with the best. Quote, I think the Mets rotation has a chance to be the worst in baseball. I really do, the Coconut said. I think the rotation is going to destroy your season. Well, what great positivity. Glad he's not a Mets fan. Was he hanging out with Frank Flim Flam Fleming and Beningo? The rotation seems to be set with Kodai Senga, Luis Severino, Jose Quintana, Sean Manaea, and Adrian Hauser. And the Coconut says the former Yankee and Cy Young finalist is the biggest reason for concern. Really? The problem is Severino, BT said. Severino in 2019 had 3 starts. In 2020, he didn't pitch. In 2021, he made no starts. In 22, he made 19 and was pretty good. In 23, he made 18 and was statistically the worst pitcher in baseball. So that's 150-year rotation. Means you're going to be bad. Would mention, let's have a farm system. And there are guys that are starting to bubble up to the surface. So you need to keep an eye on a couple of names. This is going to be a long video. You need to keep an eye on a couple of names. One is Christian Scott, and I'm taking Mike Vassell. Especially Mike Vassell. He's going to start the year in AAA after pitching AAA last year. Keep an eye on them. They're not going to be coming north when we get to opening day, but they will be important when we get to May and June and July, because that will determine where the Mets go going into the season. And more positivity coming from the Coconut and the Spaz. I would mention Spaz is a host on SNY. Does he spout any of this propaganda? This is bullshit to that audience, that pro-Mets audience. No, he does not. Everything's sunshine and rainbows there. He is a phony of the major order, and we're going to get into him on the Football Hut. Hit this. I'm going to put the subscribe button to the Football Hut, because I'm going to hit him pretty hard when it comes to the New York Giants. I probably should do a video on here too. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But anyway, headline from Odyssey: BT and Sal hardly encouraged by Mets bullpen outlook. That's bad again. Such positivity. The Coconut and Spaz took a look at the Mets bullpen depth chart with pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training in about a month. And neither were particularly bullish on the relief arms they have, even with Edwin Diaz returning from knee surgery. Drew Smith, Brooks Raley, Jorge Lopez, Michael Tonkin, and Phil Bickford and Johan Ramirez were not enough to get Sal excited for 2024. Hey, Sal, you screaming how excited you are on SNY. Quote, I don't think I'd be able to pick 90% of those guys out of the lineup. That's bad. Spaz, bullpens are up and down. I have to sort of let people know that when David Stearns was in Milwaukee, he had some of the best relievers in baseball pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers. Josh Hader, Devin Williams, and a host of guys that have pitched very, very well over the years. So just because these two knuckleheads can't figure out what they look like in a photo shoot or in a lineup doesn't mean they're not any good. How much money have the Mets spent over the last 20 years on bullpens? And they've been terrible. Bullpens don't want to be pinned down to one pin. See, I have a certain attitude. Maybe it's my age. I don't like these elite closers. I like having 2 closers. That way you can mix and match them. Because if your elite closer doesn't pitch well, you're screwed. You can't bring in somebody else to replace him. Maybe it's watching Jesse Orozco and Roger McDowell those years. But I hate the elite reliever. Because if he doesn't pitch well, your whole team is screwed over. You can have a great game and have a great week. Your reliever blows the game and you're all screwed and you're all pissed off. As a fan, as a player, So that's the one thing that really bothers me is about that. But let's look at it. Now, David Robertson was the big signing last year. But here's the thing about David Robertson. Robertson pitched great for the Mets and then pitched terribly for the Marlins. What would have happened if the Mets held on to him and they held on to these relievers and he pitched poorly? These assholes would be complaining. Billy Epler should have traded him. What are they doing? He ruined the Mets. And that's what they would have done. Because remember, like I've been saying, whatever the Mets do is wrong, and when they do it right, it's always wrong. Now, before I forget, the biggest move that the Mets are going to make going into the season is the return of Edwin Diaz. The best reliever in baseball is coming back. I would hope that by the time he takes the mound in a couple of weeks to throw off a mound, that his knee will be much, much better. It'll be healthy. That's the biggest move. Having a closer that you know is going to shut the game down. You just got to figure out where you're going to get those other 6 to 9 outs from the 5th inning, 6th, 7th, and 8th inning. That's the big key. But again, from Odyssey.com, they're going to bring you more negativity to finish off what's going on. From Odyssey.com, headline, BT, better chance that Mets strip down than add to roster this summer. Now, we've not thrown a pitch, and pitchers and catchers not reported yet. And they've already had them dead and buried. BT says Dave Stearns is giving the Mets fans conflicting messages by talking about his lack of concern with the noise around the team's offseason, but also expressing his belief in the 2024 Mets making the playoffs. Okay. No, you won't. The Mets are not good, he says. Of course not. You are a Yankee fan. This is not me pounding on the Mets. Oh, no. That is your corporate message. I am genuinely confused. With the mixed messages, I mean. No, he's genuinely confused. BT has been critical of the Mets' lack of off-season moves for months, and for Stearns to voice his belief in this group to make the playoffs after failing to win 80 games in 2023. The Coconut sees it as a confusing message to the fans that have been waiting for a big move to make up for last year's colossal disappointment. They said, Max Scherzer said the Mets weren't making a big move. What is going on? We are not confused. You do not speak for us, Coconut. The Coconut doesn't speak for us. Spaz doesn't speak for us. That lunatic in the morning with Norman, he doesn't speak for us. None of you guys speak for us. So don't even go there. Don't even dare to say that you know what's best for us as fans. He has a 5-year contract. I would mention, Greg Giannotti said after 4 days, David Stearns should be fired. Okay? You guys react to every little stupid thing you don't think. Now, he does say this, the Coconut. I'm not saying Mets fans shouldn't be hopeful. I don't see it transferring into this season immediately. So I'm a little conflicted with what the hell is he talking about? He contradicted himself. He's such an idiot. Let's sort of wrap this up. They said that they were taking a year to evaluate what they have. You have a new guy coming in here who doesn't know the organization. It's going to take him time to figure out who he wants moving forward and who he doesn't want moving forward. They have a big free agent that's going to be a free agent after the season, and Pete Alonso. I think the Mets will re-sign him. I really believe that. You have a better free agent market next year. Juan Soto is going to be on that market. Corbin Burns is going to be on that market. Zach Wheeler is going to be on that market. And then a boatload of other players too. That is much better than this offseason. This offseason, these players sucked. They were terrible. Beyond Yamamoto and Ohtani. Okay? This team has players on it that did not have a good year. Jeff McNeil did not have a good year. Starlin Marte was hurt. Marte seems to be healthy. If you can get 100 to 120 games out of Marte, that is enough, in my view, to really help this team. He is a player that was sorely missed in September 22 when they only went 14-12. He was sorely missed in terms of his production and his ability to get big hits in big spots. Jeff McNeil not doing what he did the year before, not winning another batting title, was enormous. It really cut into this ball club and what they were able to do offensively. I would assume that the pressure probably was a problem with McNeil, and probably some injuries too. The pressure being at the 5-year contract. I expect him to have a good year, and I would hope that Marte is healthy. If he's healthy, the Mets are going to have a very good offense. But I do say and admit that they need another bat in this lineup. They do need another reliever in this lineup. Now, I would mention, as I said in this video, I kind of expect this team to drag a little bit the first couple months because they're going to have to, especially if they don't make any more moves. But I do expect the things to pick up in June and July when some of these younger players are going to bubble up to the surface. In particular, Mike Vassell, Drew Gilbert, and Christian Scott. And to a lesser extent, Acuna and Jet Williams. So we could see a shift by the middle of the season in terms of the energy level going up, the excitement going up. So that's what my expectation is. right now. Looking at this team, I would hope that the pitching will stay healthy, that the pitching will be able to pitch more than 3-4 innings. That was a major problem last year, is that they weren't pitching length. The length was not there. I expect the length to be there this time around. If they get that length, they will pitch well. If they get that length, they will not kill the bullpen. And Edwin Diaz is at the end of the game. But we have to be positive. Don't listen to these people. Now, this is a channel that goes against this nonsense. So if you want to subscribe to a channel that's like this, I highly encourage you to. And I read all the comments. I love all the comments. Well, not some of them less than others, but some of them less than others. But you need to hit that subscribe button, because I'll tell you what their agenda is. Their agenda is to perpetuate and perpetuating this nonsense for 30 years. This is a corporate message that whatever the Mets don't do is wrong, and when they do it right, it's still wrong. And that's their attitude, and it has not changed. And it's tiresome. But we can make fun of them here, and they don't like it. Believe me, they don't like it when I make fun of them, especially when I goof on them. So you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. And this is another episode of the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha. To the funny farm.